Today, we're going to be going over a great wide receiver football IQ quiz to test your knowledge of the position. So if you guys are not familiar with our quiz style videos, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show a pre-snap look right here, like the one on the screen, ask you a series of questions about this pre-snap look, give you guys a chance to pause the video, think about your answer the questions that I'm asking, and then we're going to play the video and break down why your answer is right or wrong. So first example we're going to be going over is how would you guys run a 10-yard out versus this specific press coverage look. So how would you guys run a 10-yard out versus this coverage look? So you guys can go ahead and pause the video and think about your answer. So pause the video. All right, let's break this thing down. So first things first, as a wide receiver, when I come up to line of scrimmage and I'm trying to come up with my plan of action, how I'm going to run the route, the release that I'm going to choose, what move I'm going to use, I want to look for two things on this DB. I want to look for his leverage, which essentially means his shade. Is he shaded to the outside or is he shaded to the inside? If he's shaded to the outside, which he is in this example, that means he has outside leverage. And then we want to look for the distance he has between me and him, right? So how close is he? How far off is he? Is he an off man? Is he in catch man like this? Is he in press man? So in this case, we have an outside leverage DB who's maybe about 2 yards away. So why is it important that I need to know that? Because that tells me how I need to structure my route. It tells us what he's trying to accomplish with his coverage as well. So we see that he's outside leverage. That means he's trying to prevent the outside route, which is a route that I'm running. I'm running a 10-yard out route. And we see that he's 2 yards off away. So he's playing something called catch technique. So he is essentially trying to maintain this distance to force the receiver to try to run around so he could get hands and ultimately force him to the sideline or force him inside, based on the release that I choose as a receiver. Now, as a receiver, if you guys said that you wanted to attack this DB's leverage, take the inside release, and then at the top of the route, you could slip under him, you could stack him and cut, that would be correct. Now, this receiver actually runs this incorrectly, and we're going to talk about why this is incorrect and why it's a problem, and then we're going to show a correct example of Garrett Wilson versus the exact same coverage look doing it correctly. So let's play this thing full speed. Let's talk about why it's incorrect, right? Because remember, he's outside leverage. He's taught, do not give up the outside. When we get squeezed to the sideline like that, you guys, and I don't give my quarterback enough room to throw me open on an outside breaking route, and I have a DB right on my hip, that quarterback's going to throw this thing away. This was not a bad throw. This was the quarterback throwing it away. This is a good decision by the quarterback because it would have been picked if he tried to put it on him. Because, guys, remember, that's why I talked about that pre-snap process. This DB's lined up outside leverage for a reason. So if my game plan is, I'm going to fake to the inside and then take an outside release, this DB is literally taught to keep his leverage. He is taught, do not bite on the outside fake. So if I force it, this is exactly what's going to happen. He's going to get hands. He's going to force me to the outside, And you see, he's breaking damn near almost on the top of the numbers, and he started on the hash. That is very, very poor spacing on a route combination. And one-on-ones, right, the spacing may not matter, but in an actual route combination situation, that spacing matters. So what should he have done here, right? And we're going to see it with Garrett Wilson. What he should have done is he should have attacked his leverage. Try to make him think that he's trying to release to the outside. Because remember, what's a DB taught to do? He has to keep his leverage to the outside. Then he wants to take the inside release. And our goal is to either stack this DB, which means get on top of him. Or if he doesn't allow us to stack, and let's say he's right on my hip, I could take my inside arm, swat him by, and slip under him. Now, remember at the very beginning of this, I said, hey, we want to know how close or how far he is. That dictates my release. So if you guys said when you wanted to attack his leverage and take the inside release, also attacking leverage means closing the distance. Attacking leverage is not just a quick jab inside and then go, because even if we get this DB to jump, but there's still this big gap between us, he can still recover, cut off the angle, and get hands on me and disrupt the timing. So we want to close space, attack his leverage, and take that inside release. We have to be comfortable taking an inside release even when I have an outside breaking route. So now let's take a look at this example here from Garrett Wilson, right? So same coverage look off the line of scrimmage. He has outside leverage, maybe about 2 yards away. So how is he going to structure this route? Now, before we get into this example here, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you would like to train with us this off season, we are going to be coming out to 10 more states across the U.S. for 2-day long QB and wide receiver training camps. We have already had 5 training camps, you guys. All 5 of these are completely sold out. Our next 3 are completely sold out. But guys, if you're local in Buffalo, Atlanta, Houston, Philly, Detroit, Boise, and Los Angeles, we have available spots, but all of these camps will sell out probably within the next month. So guys, if you're local to one of these cities and would like to train with us, fellas, check out that very first link in the description below. It's where you can get all the information, how to sign up, what we will be covering at our camps. They are 2-day long camps. We break you guys into small groups, so we really focus on development. So guys, if you guys would like to attend any one of our off-season camps that are still available, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd absolutely love to have you there. Let's get back to this video. So this example here from Garrett Wilson, right? So we have an outside leverage guy, right? Maybe about a yard or two off. So what do we have to do? We have to attack his leverage and close the distance. I'm trying to get to his toes and make him think I'm trying to do an outside release, because he is taught, do not get beat to the outside when he has outside leverage. That's the thing. That's why we have to identify his leverage. It tells us what the DB is trying to accomplish. So he comes off the ball, he attacks him, see how the DB jumps? He's not able to stack, but what does he do? He slips underneath. Guys, when I have outside breaking routes, like let's say I'm running, like for example, a corner route, I'm running an out route like this, it is all about giving the quarterback room. I'm running a fade ball, I need to give the quarterback space to fade me. I'm running a corner, I got to give the quarterback space to lead me. I'm running an out route, same deal. I'm running a comeback route, same deal. You have to give the quarterback room. And forcing an outside release versus outside shade press is not how we do it. Now, again, he attacks him to the outside. Great move to the outside. I think he probably could have been a little bit closer to him, because I think that would have helped him maybe with the restack process. But because there's kind of a little bit of a gap, this DB's able to recover and kind of get over the top and doesn't allow Wilson to, I guess you could say, stack him, if you will. But remember, guys, even if we can't stack him, I could always drop my hips and slip under him. Guys, a quarterback would rather have a slower break by half a second, not even a half a second, guys. It's not even that much time. Just a little bit slower of a break, but room to lead and not a high-risk throw that could be a pick six, then, oh, I'm out of this thing super fast because I forced it to the outside and I was able to do a speed cut. So, guys, this is textbook. That's how you would run that 10-yard out versus outside leverage press. 2 yards off, 1 yard off, whatever the case may be, right? Now, let's say this DB was right up on the line of scrimmage, because, guys, football, the receiver position is all about situations. Would he need to close space? No. He could just give a quick jab and then go. It's the same concept. You'd run the route the same way, just the release is a little different. So if that's what you guys said when I asked you that last question, that would be 100% correct. Now let's get on to the second question of this, okay? So now, this example right here. How would you guys run a 10-yard out? So we're going to stay with the theme of a 10-yard out. How would you guys run a 10-yard out versus this coverage look right here? So how would you guys run a 10-yard out versus this coverage look? So you guys can go ahead and pause the video and think about your answers. So pause the video. All right, let's break this thing down. So first things first, what are we looking for? Looking for the DB's leverage. Is he outside? Is he head up? Or is he inside? In this specific case, this DB has inside leverage. Now, how close or how far is he? Is he in press? Is he in catch? Or is he an off man? He's an off man, right? And he is sitting at about, I would say, 8 yards, right? So that's true and true off man coverage, inside leverage. Now, just because he's an off coverage doesn't mean the responsibility of his leverage changes. He is still trying to stop the inside breaking routes. Now, it's kind of nice. I have to run an outside breaking route. So this should be a fairly easy route. Now, the mistake a lot of receivers will make, and if this is what you guys said, this would be incorrect, is that they will just push up vertical, run at this DB's outside shoulder and hip, and then cut it off, right? The problem with that is that's exactly what the DB wants us to do. He's taught don't give up the inside, but also force to the sideline. So if we just run to the outside, that's exactly what he wants. He's going to get hands. He'll be right on my hip. And that's, again, a tough throw for that QB, because that's not a ton of space. We have space, but you got a DB right on your hip. And if we have tight coverage, guys, on an outside breaking route, it's likely that quarterback will not even throw it, unless it's just a perfect dime out on time. So what you would do, and this is correct if you guys said this, you don't worry about a release. You got to get up into your route, but you have to do something called stem the DB. You have to attack his midline, his inside hip, his inside shoulder, because the goal is when I stem my route to the inside, what is this DB going to do? He's going to keep his leverage, right? Because he doesn't want to get beat where? To the inside. He doesn't have any help there. So let's watch what Claypool does here. He comes off the ball. You see how he's attacking him. He squares up the DB, gives him a move, and that just creates more room for the quarterback, you guys. Because again, look at how far this DB starts here. We stem him to the inside. He starts to keep his leverage. He ends up all the way onto this yellow icon when he started here. That's what we want. That's a way bigger window for the quarterback. That is a quarterback-friendly route. That is how you would run routes versus an off-man coverage look. If the route is breaking away from the DB's leverage, let's go attack that leverage when it is off-man. So if that's what you guys said, that would be 100% correct, and that is a great job by Claypool here. Ball could have been out a little sooner, but that's a way to get back to it. Okay, so guys, this example is going to be a little bit different of a speed here. I'm going to play this clip full speed. Now, again, we're staying with the theme of a 10-yard out, but I want you guys to pay attention. This route is actually it's ran correctly in theory, but the technique behind it is wrong. One thing you have to understand as a receiver is it's not all about technique, but it's not also only about football IQ. It's a combination of both. You have to know how to run routes, and you have to know the technique, the skills, the details to be able to be efficient with the way you run routes. So let's play this full speed and let's talk about, I want you guys to pay attention. I want you to think about this. I'm gonna give you a chance to pause the video. Think about why this route did not work. So why did this route not work? I'm gonna play it a few times. So he comes off the ball, DB's outside leverage. Why didn't this route work? Okay, so I know it's a catch, I get it, but guys, he's running like 5 yards like this. It's a 10-yard out and he's catching the ball at around 5. Like as a DB, like he's gonna take this all. Like I'll take that. You know what I'm saying? Like it could have been a way better route, could have gotten way better separation. So why didn't this route work? Or what could have made this route better? That's a better way to phrase the question. So what could have made this route better? This is the last time I'm going to play it. So you guys can go ahead and pause the video and think about your answers. So pause the video. All right, let's break this thing down. So now he's got that outside leverage look like we talked about in the first example here, right? So remember the very first example, we had outside leverage and that receiver forced it and he broke, but he didn't have any room, right? So now this receiver runs it correctly. He attacks this DB's leverage. He takes this inside release. However, there is way too much of a gap between the receiver and the DB on this route to do this slip under move or the quote unquote throw by move. So let's talk about it. They call this getting skinny on your routes. I call it running hip to hip with the DB. It's the same concept, right, guys? So anytime that I'm working a release, anytime that I get this DB to move, I never want to go away from him because anytime I can increase the distance between me and a DB in a negative way, that's not good. Or at least on the stem of the route or on the release. We want to increase the distance after the break. That's called separation, right? So when we come off the ball here and we kind of like avoid this DB and run away, there's a big gap right here, right? So if this DB recovers well, and let's say he's able to get over the top. Now, when we go super wide like this, what does that make it very hard to do? It makes it very hard to stack the DB. That is always my primary goal against press coverage. My goal is to always stack him. I want him trailing my back hips so I can give a move to the outside, give a fake to the outside, and give the quarterback space, but also lose the DB, right? But when I'm really wide like this, it's hard for me to get separation. When I do this move, you almost want to think of it, guys, like you were trying to dip this left shoulder, almost like a D lineman doing a swim move or a dip under move, whatever you want to call it. But we never want to go away from the guy. We never want to run away from the guy because now I can't stack. But also, let's say this DB again. This DB's pretty fast. He plays it well. He's going stride for stride with the DB. When we put the brakes on, now when I try to slip under him, he's got all of this room to be able to, let's say he speed turns, he could just open up his hips, he could just react and cut us off to the angle of the route. So when he tries to slip under, DB's right there. Easy money for that DB to be able to play it because we did not get tight to him. Guys, you always want to run tight to this DB. Even if it's an inside breaking route, you want to get hip to hip with him, dip that shoulder, slip underneath, and get into this guy's frame. Because if we're at the break point and let's say he's right next to me, what could I do with this hand? I could put it on the back of his shoulder, back of his hip, and slip under. Let's say I have to run a post route, right? If he's right on my hip, I could lean into him with my body and then cut. And when I'm hip to hip with him and I dip that shoulder, guys, it could put me in a position to restack. You guys have to understand that. So guys, never be afraid of the contact. Never be afraid of getting into this DB's frame. Not saying this receiver was, but again, guys, if that's what you said, like there was too much space, he didn't get skinny, that is 100% correct. I'm going to play this full speed one more time. Again, remember, right idea, but remember, it's more than just knowing what to do. It's also knowing how to do it.